Good morning, everybody. How you doing? I'm back. Hope everybody's doing well. We'll give it just a few moments to make sure that everything is live. I hear somebody in the background. So there we go. I had them open in the background. That should be better now. We shouldn't be hearing any reverb. What's up, Great Scott? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well, bud. Thanks for being in here. Inkman78, how good to see you. Hey, what's going on, Sorcerer Stan? Appreciate you a bunch. Eric and Paula, obviously you can see they're already here this morning. Thanks for coming up. My mom even took a quick pop in to say hi. We got freaking awesome coin junkie, stacking with Kraken are all in the house. So thank you all for being in here. Oh man, the last couple weeks have been just a whirlwind. We're going to talk a little bit about the adventure. So I'm going to quell one question right now. This trip was not about coin collection. I told my wife, in order for her to stay happy, that this was not going to be the premise of this trip. Hey, Malcolm, what's going on? What's going on, Dan? How are you doing? I did pick up some coins. I did pick up some commemoratives. The one coin that I went there to get, I was unable to due to some Spanish dignitaries arriving and my appointment being canceled. So I wasn't able to get the one thing I actually went there to get. But I'll be sharing some coins. I did pick up some old coins, obsolete coinage from Switzerland, some Swiss francs. I did pick up some things from like liras and stuff from Italy. Um, so I did get some of those items. But again, this was not a coin collecting adventure. This was to go search coin shops all around London. So just be aware that was part of the agreement with my wife to make sure we had a good time, and he wasn't like, "Oh my god, coin shop again." There may be one in the future. We've talked about a couple different places about doing this. There's definitely something, and there's a couple places where we definitely want to go and do some researching on some of the old coins. But there's some really cool stories that I have for each section that we went to. I've got the little map here. I will be sharing this on both. You're going to see it kind of doubled in one segment. So I apologize for the doubling in this, but it's the only way that I can get everybody to see it. So I'll be talking about that for just a moment. Hey, Killer Strider, what's going on? Yeah, it's been a few weeks since I've been on. I've been traveling Europe. Absolutely amazing. Mandy's Candy, good to see you. Thank you for being in here. I did pick up a little bit of a chest thing. I was talking to Eric just as I was coming up that in London they have these trees, and these trees are designed to pull from the atmosphere a lot of pollutants, and you get these giant knots. And when they get to a certain point, they've kind of fallen. The bark kind of falls off. Absolutely cool at removing pollution, but it's absolutely horrid for allergies. It's like the number one pollutant, allergy pollutant there is. So sacrifice one for the other. And the last 2 days in London just ripped me up. So, but yeah, no worries, Killer Strider. It's not a big deal, bud. You can go back and watch. I did a lot of these. Hey, Michael Stacking, how you doing? Good to see you. What's going on? Freaking awesome. Do that one more time. A cure for what? Yeah, we've got it coming around the corner. I'm well, here's the problem. The amount of money that was spent on this trip is not conducive to me following it up with another trip. Yeah. So, but it was so amazing. I'm really sad because this is one thing that I really, really would like to go do. Unfortunately, it's just not something I think is going to happen. Um, yeah, I thought about driving up, but again, even if I drive, it's an 8.5, 9 hour drive. And then I would only be there for a day because I'd have to come back the very next day. So, to drive 16 hours to be there for a few hours, it's like, I don't know that it's really conducive to resolving the jet lag that I've experienced the last. But we'll see. I mean, we still got a week. It's next weekend, right? So we'll see. We'll see. I still got some time. We'll see if there's something that I can swing. I wouldn't anticipate it. No, Rockzilla, the panel isn't talking. I put them on mute. Hold on just a second. Let me see if is some.
I wasn't talking.
Taking away our First Amendment rights.
Now I'm talking, but I wasn't talking before.
No, I was pretty much just talking. I just want to make sure that you can hear him. So go ahead and talk.
Hello.
You guys hear Paula.
But I was saying, you put in 80 hours a week anyway, so just put in 100.
Right? Why not?
Yeah, it's been, the work leading up to this was a nightmare. So being able to come back and just have normal work has been very nice. Unfortunately, I came back to work to something like 450 emails, 500 emails.
So they had nobody filling in for you, so it just stacked up, I take it.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. But work-wise, the rest of my team really has done an amazing job covering and doing all of those things. But my schedule should decrease over the next couple of weeks a lot, and then it'll have a couple more weeks that are going to be heavy, and then be back into the normal. So the crazy makers the last 2 months is done. So good now. Way too many hours. So, but how have you guys been? What's
wonderful,
been
working hard.
Busy.
Oh yeah, Paula's had her hands full with Facebook.
Oh my God.
What's happening on the Facebook side?
New group, same problems.
Yeah, I don't know.
To slow down.
It has slowed down. I don't say that too loud though. It comes and goes in waves, right? It comes and goes in waves. Just like a lot of times a certain coin will be, and I know it's because somebody's done a video on it. It can usually be traced back to somebody doing a TikTok quick video, and then all of a sudden they'll be like the 64 SMS will be like the flavor of the month.
I have got to get pictures because there's actually dye markers on that.
Well, yeah, there are, but nobody's going to find them.
Well, you can disprove it real easily to say, hey, does it got this? No.
Yeah.
No. You know.
But, they'll go for on the Kennedy, they'll see like a little mark under the 4 and they'll be like, oh, look, it's the teardrop.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
But, I don't envy you guys having to do that sometimes. I mean, I watch.
I don't do it anymore. I quit Facebook as far as giving it. You know what I do when it's a legitimate question and it hasn't been answered, I will answer something.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just read it and smile and scroll by.
And I don't have to do it, right?
I know. Well, you're good at it though. Me, I
agree.
Turning into a mean person over it, and I don't like being that person.
I have to take breaks. I can see my anger in my comments get worse and worse and worse, and so I have to take breaks. I have to step back from it. But I've this hobby has done so much for me. It brought me out of a really bad funk. And
me
so
too.
I feel like
me too.
A lot of people, a lot of people could share stories of how it really brought them out of something bad. And
people ask how I look at so many coins. It stimulates my brain to where my brain doesn't go in a bad direction.
Right, right. So I feel like I kind of have to give something back. And I said it before that like my taste in coins like is way like it I'll never be able to afford the coins that I want to buy, that I like or that I want to collect. So I
Yeah.
just teach. I just teach. That's all. I learn and I teach and I research and so
I do a
and
lot of
I
that, but all the
enjoy it.
coin dealers around here, when I walk through the door, when I first walked in, when I first moved here, they'd say, "Hey, what can I help you with?" I says, "Where's the junk stuff at?"
Right?
Yeah. And now they all just
Yeah.
call me the penny guy.
There
So,
you go. Well,
Well, there's a
but they
lot of
know
stories.
yeah.
most of them were like, I don't even carry pennies or cents.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
I
stories in this
don't have
community
I
where
don't have the
people.
patience.
Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead, sorry. No, go ahead, sorry.
It's just there's a lot of people in this community who've utilized this hobby to overcome things like substance abuse addiction,
Mhm.
depression,
Mhm.
PTSD.
It puts your brain in a direction.
Yeah,
It
it gives you
does.
focus. It gives you ability to do some of that. There's a lot of people who I've talked to who have utilized this, and you have to be careful because you can take it to the extreme. And
And the social aspect
so,
too, Frostbite,
yeah,
right? The
That's
exactly.
right.
social aspect too. I had no social life before this whatsoever. And even though most of it is online, there is still a very personal aspect to it.
Sure.
So I mean that makes and cherry picking like I love varieties and errors and I could cherry pick all day if I had the patience for it. I don't.
I
I have a
love it.
little bit of attention deficit, so my brain doesn't I can't stay focused on something that long.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I'm
that
going to the fun show in July,
yeah,
and I'm only
you
going
and
for one
Adam.
full day. And I usually go
Yeah.
for 3 full days, and so it's gonna be tough to get everything in, but
Adam can sit all day long at a table and cherry pick. I could not like I try to do it on eBay and I can get through maybe 2 pages and I'm done.
yeah. Oh,
I
I've got
can't
probably
do
a handful of dealers. They're there every time, and I
yeah.
instantly go to them first.
Dan.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it's fortunate because they're actually wholesalers, and they don't let a lot of people sit, and fortunately, I've actually got into the loop where I can sit there.
Nice.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a lot of people that won't allow you to sit there. I
Yeah.
saw that.
Right,
I've
right.
seen that in a couple of coin shows, and I mean I haven't been to very many, simply
Especially if
because I
they
don't
find
go to
out you're
very many
looking
coin
through
shows.
Lincoln Cents. They think you're
Mhm.
trying to cherry pick them, and they don't have time for your $4 coin when they could be selling a $500 coin.
And they might be selling a $500 coin for $4.
That's right. I mean, two shows ago, I hit good
Yep.
in a junk bin, $1 a coin.
There you go. Adam does it all the time.
Yeah, I
He does
got
it all the time.
44D OMM 1 and 2 and a 46S in like XF OMM 1,
Nice.
and it was like $3. I literally bought 200 coins off that guy because I bought a bunch of bluegill type stuff too. So
Hi, Miss
Ah,
Grapefruit.
Dan. Angel.
Yep, I am back on American
Angel.
soil. I've been here a couple days, still trying to recover from all the lag. But yes, I am back.
Yeah, what is the what's the like time difference that you're dealing with? Like coming home, what's the difference?
oh,
How
at
are
least
you
8
losing
hours.
time?
Depends where you came
So
from.
from where I'm at to London, a matter of fact, let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, make this big.
Be 9 hours, I think, from
Yeah,
London.
I'll kind of walk
Wait,
through
so
this.
he's losing 9 hours?
Yeah, so like right now it would be it'd be 9, it'd be 2:45 in London, and it would be 3:45 in Belgium.
Yeah, so 7 hours. That ain't
Yeah, 7,
terrible.
8 hours. Yeah, so it's not bad. Um, it's
Coming
worse
home
coming
sucks, though.
back
Yeah,
than it is going there.
Right.
yeah, that's
You
where the
lose
lag
yeah.
time.
comes in.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends on where you're at. So where I'm at, it's 6 and 7 hours. So it's 6 hours to London. It's 7 hours. When I first got there, I didn't even know what time it was. Like I was off by a couple hours. Um,
Hmm.
I didn't set my watch to auto update. And so I was just like, oh, it's only like 4 hours. It's not a big deal, right? So my first couple of days in London, I was going to coffee shops like, why aren't you open? And they're like, well, we don't open for 2 months. So it was, I felt like a fool. But I quickly found out that, you know, it's 6 hours. And then when you cross over into France, then it changes to 7 hours. So it's not terrible. It's not like you're going from here to Asia. Here to Asia is totally different. That is a little bit different. But while we're talking about this, let me actually walk through the trip and kind of walk through where we were at, where we started. So we flew into London. My wife and I went. We did a guided tour. So we were on a huge tour with a bunch of different people. The company was called Expat Tours, and I've heard good stories about these guided tours and bad stories about these guided tours. This one was actually amazing. We had a great lead. We had a great driver. Peter was our lead. Sebastiano, he was an Italian dude, 6'5", huge dude, nice as hell. Women loved him. Everywhere we went, they were like, "Oh, hey, Sebastian." They talk about having a woman in every port. He's a joke. Yeah, he's a joker though. He's a lot of fun. And the dude could drive, man. And if you've ever been to Paris, you know they're crazy there. It's insane. But anyway, my wife and I went to London. I'll be uploading photos and doing a lot of that stuff. Hey, 75 in pennies, baby, how you doing? So we landed in London, and then we drove down here to the White Cliffs of Dover. Now, the White Cliffs of Dover is a bucket list item for me. You guys know I love war history, and the White Cliffs of Dover, there's so many things that happened here with talking about like the retreat issues. We talk about Calais here in just a minute. We're the other side of the ferry when you cross the English Channel. But there's so much history here. The radar was first utilized here for the Germans. This is where the Blitzkrieg was coming across to bomb London. And so there's a lot of history here. So to be able to see the White Cliffs of Dover, to be able to kind of look and see what's going on, to look at the castles. This was our third or fourth castle that you see, the fort up on top of the White Cliffs of Dover. Absolutely amazing. So that's here. And then we come over to this point. This point over here is Calais. Now, Calais, again, it's another huge issue when it comes to World War II. And the important thing about Calais was that Calais was the 30th Infantry, I believe, the Expeditionary Force, was basically sacrificed. So as you guys know, or most of you should know, there was a massive retreat. The English and the French were pinned into the corner by the Germans. And so they were escaping, or they were trying to escape. And there were two fronts. And what they did is they sent the 30th Expeditionary Force to Calais basically as a diversionary tactic so that they could divert and leave from, I just went blank. I can't think of the name of where they departed from. It's where the 1,000 ships came over and were running back and forth, getting the troops off of the peninsula and getting them back over to London proper. Anyway, Calais, there's a huge story about the sacrifice of the 30th Infantry Division, and they really basically sent them there to die. And so massive stories about valor and overcoming. Squirrels do steal our words. That's absolute truth. So it's just absolutely amazing to identify and see some of these things. So anyway, we left the port of Calais. Hold on, I'm just pulling this up real quick because I want to remember the name of this. The Dunkirk was the evacuation spot. Operation Dynamo. Anyway, couldn't remember that. But anyway, we come out of here. We went down and we came down through here. We crossed the Seine and ended up in Paris. Now, I have drove in different places of the world. I've got a video that I'll be uploading for you all that shows Paris traffic. Holy crap. Now, lanes are suggestions. Stoplights are suggestions. Stop signs are suggestions. Cyclists, motorcycle and bicycle, they just ride in and out of everything. They cut in front of you. They deviate, move wherever. And the fact that the Olympics are being held here. Matter of fact, they just put the Olympic rings on the Eiffel Tower yesterday, I believe. So they're spinning up. There's road closures everywhere. Paris was a nightmare. And while it's pretty, you can have it. Been there, done it, seen it. We'll never go back. Paris is not my cup of tea. Got some good pictures of the Eiffel Tower, Champs-Élysées. Champs-Élysées. I got to see that street. Got to go through it. Got to see the nice archway. Really, really cool. Took a little river tour. Got to see some places. But while we were in Paris, we took a little bit of time and we navigated over here. Over here, about where the eye is, was one of our favorite excursions, and that was the Palace of Versailles. Now, Versailles is amazing. The architecture, the gardens, the sheer beauty, the magnificence of this castle. We were only there for about 6 hours, 8 hours, and we only scratched the surface of this place. It's absolutely amazing. The gardens, you can spend a day to 2 days just in the gardens, walking and navigating all of the gardens. Now, you can walk the perimeter in about 6 hours. But to actually look at all the things, check out the fountains, do all of that stuff, and see the fact that some of these fountains operate based off of an old levee system where they would pump water up, and then the pressure from this tank would operate the fountains. They could only operate certain fountains, or the water pressure just wouldn't be enough to run them. And all this was done back in the 1700s. Crazy technology, cool stuff. The Palace of Versailles was absolutely, absolutely amazing. If you guys ever get the chance to go to Paris, I tell you, the Louvre and the Palace of Versailles are probably the two best places in the entire section. The other thing that we got to see, there was another church. Now, you guys seen Sacré-Cœur? I posted the video of that. It's about a 5-minute video, just a little walkthrough. Out of all the churches in Europe that we saw, the only one that rivals that is the chapel that was built in 1475 at Windsor Castle. That was when we came back to London on a return trip. But the one in Windsor Castle is 100% it's where the burial place for Queen Elizabeth II, Henry VIII. I mean, there's so many kings. You can't do photography and stuff inside. Just like with the crown jewels, you couldn't do photography inside. So there's a lot of really cool things that I was able to see that you couldn't do. But I got to see the bed where Marie Antoinette slept. I got to see her room, her 7 rooms. 1 room for waking up the first time, 1 room for waking up the second time. They would like wake up King Louis the 13th, and then get him ready, and then he would lay back in bed. They would bring all these people in, and then they would do an official awakening, where he'd be like, "Oh, I'm so," and of course he would be fully dressed and clothed, and he'd wake up perfect, and but I got to hear all the history, all the stories behind this. Seeing the Hall of Mirrors, got to see. Now, I did see some coins. They have some cool coin stuff there. Unfortunately, it's in a room where you cannot take photos. Got to see some really old pressed coinage here. They had an area. Unfortunately, they were doing some renovation. in this particular section of the castle, so we couldn't really do anything inside the one room where some of the displays are. But absolutely, just by far one of the coolest places I've ever seen in my life. So again, if you ever get the opportunity, go to Versailles. Versailles was amazing. From Versailles, we left and we did our big long trip. Came down through here, went through Lyon, and then cut back up through here, crossed through Geneva, and ended up in a little town called Yonfront. Yonfront is a area where there's a glacier. So for those of you who were watching the channel and saw, we basically stood at what's called the top of Europe. It's about 13,000 feet in elevation, something like 3,875 meters above sea level. We're on top of a glacier. Take a train up to what's called Yonfront, which is a ice castle. It's absolutely phenomenal. If I were to go anywhere in the world on a trip again from this trip, it would be Switzerland. Switzerland is absolutely an amazing country. They are on time. They are clean. They are honest and straightforward. They do not take BS. they're very specific about things like they're quiet, they're peace. In certain locations on Sundays after 6 o'clock, they have a rule you can't even flush a toilet because they don't want you disturbing your neighbors. Like, it's absolutely quiet. There's no loud noises. At certain times, like there are certain things you just don't do. You never put your foot on a seat. If you're on a train or a tram, you never put your seat. It's a 50 franc fine. And they call it insubordinate, right? Insubordinate attitudes. And they'll fine you 50 francs for it. So anybody who knows a £5 or 5 franc Swiss coin is about $8 US. So when you're talking about that, you're talking about a pretty hefty fine for putting your foot on a chair. So you don't do that there, right? So they're very stringent. They're on time. If you lose a ticket, you lose a ticket. You have to pay for it again because they'll ask you, why would you do that? You're an adult. Why would you lose your ticket? Why would you spend good money and then lose it? Buy another one. But the country is clean. The tap water that you can drink from here. Hey, Siren, what's going on? Good to see you. The tap water that you can drink out of there, it's ice cold. It comes straight from the glacier. It's absolutely phenomenal. You won't get better bottled water anywhere. Switzerland was absolutely amazing. I did post some videos and again, a lot of photos about Switzerland. Switzerland was absolutely awesome. So we spent a day and a half in Switzerland. Again, I did experience a little bit. You guys know that I have some lung issues. I did experience a little issue the following day after being at the top of the mountain. Very tired. It wasn't until I got back down into Italy after leaving the higher elevations that I actually felt better. My wife had zero issues. Nobody on our trip had any issues. I didn't have any issues while I was there. But it was when we came back down and kind of tried to reacclimate. I just didn't feel good for a couple of days. But again, you're talking about a person who basically lives at sea level going to 13,000 feet in a total of about 72 hours. But absolutely amazing. And again, I'll be posting a lot more video and a lot more information on that particular section because this item, honestly, an interesting concept. Then what was an interesting concept about finding people, or what was the interesting concept? Let me know in chat. Again, you're on the landscape side, so let me, or the portrait side, so let me know. Before I move on, are there any questions about London, France, or Switzerland before I go on to the next ones? Please feel free. Eric, Paula, if you guys have questions, let me know. go ahead and ask any questions. This
Just listening and enjoying.
it was amazing. Now to kind of give you an idea of how much we traveled, we were there 16 days, and during this time frame, did you see under? Okay, so yes, we saw underpants everywhere. Going through your travels, I love to see how other people go around multiple regions, especially. Oh, I got you. Yeah, no problem. Um, Nung Nung says, going through your travels, I just love to see how other people go around multiple regions, especially when sadly I cannot do the same. Yeah, and this is one reason I wanted to share with people. A lot of people don't get the opportunity to travel and do this. This is a once in a lifetime thing for me. The likelihood that I'll be able to do this um, again probably won't be for a large number of years if I ever get to do it again. But my wife and I have made a pact in our trip, seeing a bunch of really old folks going through this and watching the struggles of them trying to navigate the cobblestones with walkers and not being able to do their willy things, and because they can't get around, or trying to have canes and navigate that stuff. We have made a pact to do at least one or two of these while we're healthy, to make sure that we can enjoy it. Now, we want to enjoy retirement and do stuff like that, but we're going to be making trips and sharing those kind of things, because, again, you want to do it while you're young and healthy. But Nung Nung, I appreciate you saying that, because, again, I wanted to bring this to everybody and talk a little bit about it. I've done a large number of shorts, posted a bunch of pictures, and I'll add way more. I probably have, no joke, probably 2,000 to 3,000 images that I need to download. Phenomenal, just phenomenal. All right, Michael Stacking, have a good one. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. So Miss Coin Crew asked, did you see underpants? Yes. We saw underpants everywhere. In one of the Italian, we'll talk about this, in one of the Italian restaurants that we ate at, the owner of the restaurant actually sleeps above their work area. It's very common in Europe for them to live above where they work. And so he was doing his laundry and his underwear were hanging from the line. And it was like, one of the ladies from our group was like, he come back out and he goes, Pabluedo, I can't remember what his name is. Like, what? No boxers? And he kind of turned red, and his wife poked her head out the window. It's like, no boxers. And it's just life. It's just what it is. You stick your unmentionables out there. We saw some funny stuff. But again, we saw some really cool things. Some authentic German, like lederhosen and things like that were hanging as people were cleaning, because they were doing hold on, it's Corpus Christi. There was a holiday when we were in Munich, St. Corpus Christi, and everything was shut. When we were going through, people were wearing the lederhosen. But people were cleaning and doing that stuff. So you would see laundry everywhere. Just a normal thing, right? This is just how things happen overseas. But it was really cool. It was absolutely amazing. Did I see the changing of the guard? Yes. A matter of fact, I want to go back to London real quick and talk about that. So in one of the videos, you've seen the changing of the guard. And there was the changing of the guard, but it wasn't the changing of the guard where they had the giant, the black hat, right? We got to see something that was a little bit more unique, something that was way more special. And that was, and Paula, you would appreciate this. The anniversary of the Navy and the anniversary of the Air Force are only a week apart in Europe, right? In London. And so we actually got to see, we were there on the Air Force's birthday, the Royal Air Force birthday, and they're the ones that actually performed the changing of the guard. So this has never happened where the Air Force performed this particular function, this particular corps of the Air Force did this function. It's never happened before. They've had special dignitaries and like an elite unit within a corps, the Army, the Navy, whatever, perform this. But this particular um, group was given a special opportunity to do this, and it only happened the one time. It was the one instance, the one Sunday, and we just happened to see this, and it was absolutely phenomenal to experience this, because when we were talking to one of the bobbies, the police officers, who was extremely friendly and courteous and gave a lot of information, he's like, we do this all the time. This is something we have to do, changing of the guard about once a month or so. We see it all the time. It's just whatever is what it is. He's like, I was in the Navy. Last week was the big one. I was like, I was in the Navy too. I missed the one. And he's like, but the Navy has done it a number of times over their 300-year history. However, the Air Force, this is the first time. This is cool for us. We've never seen this. We've never seen them do this particular event. So while I've seen this way more times than I care to count, this is cool. This is history. You're actually witnessing history right now. So from that aspect, it was a really cool. Now, we didn't get to see the guards with the big old black hats. And
what are those hats called, Frostbyte?
I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I don't know. I can tell you a cool story about them, though. They're not English. They're actually French. And this is, again, I'm a history buff, so I ask a lot of questions. And this is a cool trivia question. So what happened was, during one of the French battles during the time of Napoleon, they actually the French wore these hats, and they would, because, they wanted to appear taller and bigger and whatever and freak everybody out. They would wear these outfits. And so in this battle, Britain beat France, right? England beat France. And they decided that during the next battle, they were going to don these hats and utilize it as a strategic item. And so they actually defeated Napoleon, because Napoleon saw them coming in the distance and just assumed they were a troop movement that had been kind of deviated and misplaced and had to come from a different direction. So kind of blew it off. And they actually came in and attacked them and defeated them in this particular battle. So they just ended up adopting them because they left them all and retreated, and they had all these extra hats. And so they maintain this. Now they're made of bear skin, but they're not called bear skin. I don't know what the name of the hat is actually called. But anyway, it's absolutely a really cool kind of history, kind of one of those Trivial Pursuit type questions where you'll probably never run across it, but it's cool. Beafther? Beafther? I'm not sure what that is. But that's what Muscle Show said. Pretty cool. Google says they're called bear skins. Oh, interesting. But yeah, anyway, just they're really cool. But what we did get to see is we got to see the changing of the guard. Hey, Silver Throne Stacker, what's going on, bud? Good to see you. Hey, Starika, what's up? The one that we did get to see is at the King's Guard, where they do where they sit on the horse. So we're the ones that wearing the armor, and they have the steel helmet with the red kind of frothy, whippy looking thing on the top of it. We did get to see those. Those are amazing. That is way more impressive to me than the changing of the guard with the other one. Just because of the detail and the craftsmanship involved in the armor that they wear. When we were walking through Buckingham, we were at the towers, the Tower of London. when we were going through there is an amazing, and I've got tons of photos of this, an amazing display of knights armor, all the way from Henry VIII down to Prince Philip, who was, like 2 or 3, and this ornate gold armament. It's absolutely phenomenal, the craftsmanship that the royal families had under their belts. Now, one cool thing about this, and I'll go ahead and I'll move on down into Italy. One of the really cool things about that is in an area in Windsor. Now, Windsor comes at the very end of the talk, and I'll talk more about it. There was no photography in Windsor Castle. So when you're walking through this particular guided tour, you couldn't take photos. It was forbidden. However, there was a silver and gold medal that was created back in like 1080, all the way up into like 1230 or somewhere in that time frame. There's a little gap time frame. And I asked one of the coordinators, the curators, I was like, hey, can you talk to me a little bit about these medals? And he looked at me and he smiled. He's like, you got a good eye. He says, these are really cool pieces. There were only 50 of them ever made. They were made for Henry the Fourth, I believe. And a lot of people don't ever notice them, but there are only 50 of these ever created. And we obviously have 2 of them. There were silver, gold, and bronze. We don't have any of the bronze ones. Most of the bronze ones were destroyed or given to lesser houses. But I can't tell you a whole lot about this. You'll find some information, but give me just a minute. And he walked over and he grabbed me the curator's book and he opened it up to this particular item. And he says, take a photo of this. So I actually got to take a picture of the the curator's book that lists every item in the museum of this particular item. So I'll be showing that later. I'll be doing a little video on those. Really, really cool, very friendly. But again, you just had to ask, right? They were very gracious there. If you took a photo without it, they would stop you. They would have you open your phone and they would have you delete it immediately. But considering some of these places are burial sites and things of that nature, it's just a matter of respect. Plus, there's also areas because people still live and throw parties and do stuff in Windsor Castle, right? So there's a lot of security things that are there, so they don't want people sharing and taking videos of entrances and exits and where they are in relation to the grounds and things of that nature. So there's a lot of security involved in those areas. All right, so let's get back over here. So as we head out in Switzerland, we drove past Milan, kind of came on down through this area and stopped in just outside of Florence in a little area. It's really cool. I'll send that. It's just a photo page inside of a binder. It's nothing major. It's the fact that this is their curator book, right? And at least all the details and the histories. I would love to have a couple days where I get to sit down with somebody and talk about that. There are some cool things that are there that I've been able to find on the site. And I've put in a couple requests already via email asking for some more information, because the swords and the armament that are there is this one sword that is coated in mother of pearl and diamonds. It was made by the East India Company. I've never seen its equal. It is the most beautiful scabbard, the most beautiful sword I've ever seen in my life. And it's a small, little itty bitty thing kind of in the corner. There are some amazing swords that are huge and gigantic and cool, and replicas of the William Wallace sword and things of that nature. But this is the most exquisite. So I've asked for more detail on the sword. They have sent me the link already, so I have a link to that museum piece. I'll be sharing that with everybody. probably tomorrow. I've got so much crap. Unreal. Hey, Tiger just gifted 10 memberships. Thanks, Tiger. Appreciate that. But, and again, doesn't matter if you're on the portrait or the landscape side. It does it based off of being on the site. So if you're on the landscape side and you don't see him coming across, Jeff Davis, Roxzilla, Matt T, Jack Gallman, Mike Pepsi, Inkman, Vote for Pedro, and Steve Looking for Silver are the ones who got those. Thanks, Tiger. Welcome home. I appreciate you, brother. Good to be back. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. But I can't, folks, I can't tell you the exquisite nature of some of these items. Paula, you like gold, right?
No.
I saw a 577 kilogram gold punch bowl.
Holy cow.
That's a big punch bowl.
That's a big, that's, yeah.
Kilograms.
That's almost a 2,000-pound punch bowl.
Oh, it's unreal.
What kind of punch would you put in that?
I don't know, but it's called a punch bowl. I asked people, it's like, well, it's like, did they use this as like a baptismal? It's like they used it as a baptismal in the past, but no, it's actually a punch bowl. There is a 105 kilogram ladle. It takes 2 servants to ladle out of it.
And a fifth of peppermint schnapps will ruin that punch
real.
too.
Like, some Goldschlager.
This is all in the Crown Jewels area in the Tower of London. You cannot take photos in this area. I even asked. I asked permission to take photos of a couple of things. They were like, no. This is non-negotiable. There are places where you can ask and they'll give you permission. Crown Jewel area is not one. Absolutely.
So do you think that that is the actual one, or do you think it's like a replica and they have the real one like hidden away in some vault somewhere?
So they were very clear about this. So the guy that we were doing, so we have, every tour group has its own tour guide. And the tour guide would talk about all these things. And he's like, everything's real. Everything's authentic. Everything's real. They don't hide this. They don't put stuff away. And I asked one of the guards, I was like, I got a question for you. When they have to clean or replace a piece or something like that. So when they did the actual ceremony for the king, they obviously had to take that crown and do it, right? When Camilla got her thing, she used the crown she wasn't supposed to use. Obviously, they have to clean it and do stuff like that. When they remove that, do they put another piece in that edifice? Do they put another piece in that location just so people that are touring don't do it? And he's like, it depends. If it's a royal ceremony, then no, it's missing so people know that that's the one that's being worn. They don't do it. Now, if they're doing maintenance or stuff like that, will they remove one? I can either confirm or deny. Sorcerer Stan just gifted 10 memberships. Thanks, Stan. I appreciate you. Let's see who got these ones. So Starika, Begotten Solitude, Coach's Magic, AZ Coins, Brenda Shank, Invisible River Ranch, Fat Baxter. I always want to say Fat Bastard. Fat Baxter, EMR Coins, and Mandy's Candy. Thank you. I appreciate you for doing that, Stan. That's awesome. Oh, Jeff C. I missed Jeff C.
So if they did do that, they wouldn't tell anybody anyway.
No,
so how would these people know, right? How would these tour guides even know?
The guard was very clear, though.
Because it would be like a
they
big
don't display
secret.
Everything that's there is authentic. They don't display fakes. Like they don't put it up there. If they're doing a major ceremony or things of that nature, then they'll utilize that one. But they shut it down. So of course, I'm very observant. I look around and kind of see things. The vaults, like if there's ever anything going on and they shut these things, you're locked in, you're shut down, right? So there are levels upon levels upon levels upon levels upon levels upon levels of security. So are there fakes there? No. I think a lot of times people say that there are because they want to be like, there's no way they can display them all the time. If they're doing something, they just shut down the crown jewels. They just don't allow people to go there. But again, it's one of those things. Can you confirm it? No. It's plausible deniability. They're not going to tell you. It's just like the Constitution. Is the Constitution the real one, or do they display a fake from time to time? Well,
isn't there more than one that's considered real in the Constitution? Isn't there like 4 copies that were signed all at the same time?
Maybe. I don't know the answer to that actually.
Probably.
But I'm sure probably
because they didn't have copy machines back then, so they had to actually do it.
Well, I mean, they had to disseminate them to local areas, right? So the people could see the decrees. So I would assume that the answer is yes. But again, it's anything like that has vast, enormous historical. Are you looking at the original? In most cases, the answer is going to be yes. But in some cases, I mean, I'm sure there's certain instances in every country with every item where they don't. Now, one good example of this was, if you guys remember, I did a video on the gold rind. It's a huge necklace that adorned the Celtic gods, and it was found, and they had it in a museum, and somebody stole it. So the one that's there now is a replica. It's a gold replica. It's the same basic size and makeup. They had one taken of models and photos, and they had done it, but that's not real. The original one had been stolen. So there's obviously no way to display that. So there are going to be certain artifacts where in certain places where they have the copy on display because that's all they have. Oh man, what was it? The 200-pound gold coin that was stolen from Australia or England. I think it was the Australian kangaroo that was stolen, right, and melted down or whatever it was. They never found it.
Was it stolen?
There was a huge coin. I think it was a kangaroo. Is either that?
Yeah, I didn't know it was stolen though.
Yeah, it was stolen. There was one of them that was stolen. It's not the. I don't think it's the 2,000-pound one. Yeah, it's not Australia. And I'll do the research and find it. I did a video on it. But yeah, it was stolen. It was like 800 pounds of gold.
Oh my God! What, they bring in a crane?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they got it, but obviously it had to be like an inside job.
Can't sneak that out in your pocket,
right? But again, are there fake things out there? I'm sure there are, right? I'm sure there are replicas. Things need big gold maple. There you go. Tiger Gifted showed up mine. It must be. Yeah. Well, again. Did I get to the Alfalme Coast? No, I did not. We were on the other side of the hill of it, but we actually didn't get to go to that side of it. But yeah, anyway, really, really cool stuff. Let's go ahead and get back to Italy. I got stuck on London, and I could talk about each place for a day. Like, it's amazing. There are so many cool things. But we got to go here, and the place in Italy that we went to, it's Monmont.
What?
I think it's called Monmont. There is a upper and a lower town in Italy, and there is at the top of this is Castle del Monte. It's absolutely gorgeous, but there's a lower and upper portion of this town, and down at the bottom, it's really cool. It's really nice, and then you take this gondola up, and then you have this little train that you have to go up. And we ate at this restaurant that kind of overlooks this Italian valley. And it was absolutely phenomenal. Now, I will say one thing about Italy. Tiger with a $10 super chat. Frosty took wifey and me and then joined MI6 and had dinner with James Bond. No, I did not have dinner with James Bond, but it was really cool. And I did not join MI6. Well, I cannot neither confirm nor deny that I am a part of it.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How was like the prices at this restaurant?
Okay, so that's a great question. Part of the expat trip, part of the excursion that we went on, this group detail, was that they had individual excursions. And these excursions were very, very affordable. Not all of them were the best priced. You could do your own thing. And in many cases, we did our own thing. But in most cases, the prices for the excursions that you could buy from expat were very well priced and very well taken care of, right? They coordinated it. They called ahead. They gave you your menu items. You chose what you ate based off of this menu. You got up there, you sat down. If you were going to have a drink or two outside of what you were given as part of the package, then you paid for your own. Sometimes they were very, very expensive, but the excursions were not. So, for instance, this particular restaurant, if we were to eat there, would cost us about 45 to 50 euro. So you're looking at about 60 to 63 bucks per person.
Oh, that's not bad.
Okay.
That's not bad.
But we only paid 35 euro a piece for it because we bought it along with 25 other people. So they cut us a killer deal. So there were a lot of places where we did this expat tour thing where it was extremely beneficial to do the excursion. Now, there were some of them that were absolutely horrendous. And they told us, you're only getting a sandwich, a drink, you're getting a small dessert, spending 40 euro. Go do your own thing, spend 15 euros more, and get off the beaten path and go experience Venice. Don't do this lunch. If you want to do it, it's there for people who just want to be guided. But if you want to enjoy it, go spend a little bit of more money, go do your own thing. Get lost in Venice. And they were honest with you, right? And it was cool. But most of their excursions were amazing. Most of their excursions were on point. They did a very good job. The food in most cases was okay. There were a couple where, because they have to make it in mass, you have 40 people eating at one time. The food wasn't perfect.
Yeah, that's what I would worry about.
That was that. I think that happened 2 out of the 16.
Was the wine good?
Overall, it was brilliant. Say again.
Was the wine good?
We came back with 8 bottles, 2 bottles of liquor.
Nice.
And I spent almost 100 euros on a ice wine in Bruges, Germany, that they told me not to drink it because in a few years it's going to be worth about 10 times its value.
What year was it made?
I go downstairs and let you know, but I think it's like 2018.
Oh, yeah, it needs a few years. That's like if you get wine that's called Baron Aslisen.
Yeah.
That is very, and I think that's like some sort of ice wine when you translate it.
Yeah. So this is, there's a very particular thing about the ice wine. I'll talk more about that later because I've only got about 30 minutes left before I have to kick it over to the beer train. And I haven't even hit Italy yet. So, and again, I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the rest of the trip tomorrow. I knew this was going to take a couple days to do. So to talk about the other half of the trip, and we're going to get into Rome and stuff tomorrow. You're definitely going to want to talk that. You talk about the Trevi Fountains. Yes, we did go to the Trevi Fountains. It is pickpocket heaven. But we'll talk about security and some of the stuff that happened on our trip. But this ice wine, you can only pick it when the grapes basically freeze, and it has to be at a very specific point. Now, there's a difference in your European wines than there are in American or Californian wines, because over there you can only use grapes. You can't add black currant. You can't add peaches. You can't add strawberries. It's not considered a wine. It's considered an alcoholic beverage, but it's not a wine. So, in certain areas, by law, it can only be a grape. They can use one or two grapes, but it has to be very specific. It has to be approved. It has to be part of the approved type. So, when we talk about wines, yes, I had some amazing wines. We brought some white wines, we brought some red wines, we brought a blush wine, we bought an ice wine, we brought some cabs, we bought some things when we were in Burgundy. We picked some stuff up in Burgundy. I forgot to talk about Burgundy, France. We went to Burgundy, France. Have beef bourguignon in Burgundy, right? Like absolutely amazing. Beer in Germany. We went to the Heineken exhibit, the Heineken beer hall, right? That seats over 10,000 people. It's a beer hall. The beer hall that we went to seat 4,000 or 5,000 people. And that's where we had dinner. Freaking phenomenally. Ice wines do not age well. They're fortified wines. Yeah, well, they said to sit on it for a while. It gave me a few years. I'll look at the details. There's a sheet that came with it. I'll have to check into that as this is my first introduction into ice wines, so I'll have to watch it. But people buy some of the wines for 10, 15, 20,000 pounds. Because of the rarity of those. 2018 was a really good year to do it. So the prices are way cheaper. If you were in 2012 where there were only, like 200 or 300 cases total, then a value of that particular wine. Nuts. Ice wine is Germany. Is ice wine? Yes. I have many, many bottles. They're very cool, right? But again, I'm not a wine connoisseur when it comes to the ice wine, simply because I have never had a ice wine. The one thing that is cool about this is that I do actually, I do have one. We keep it at a very specific temperature. I have a Butler's Pantry that's specifically designed for wines, so I do have that. Mark, good day. How are you, sir? I hope you're doing well. But yeah, I'll get with you more. I want to talk with you offline because you know more about that than I do. And I want to make sure I don't ruin that, because that is a really cool, it's one of my favorite bottles. That is really, really cool. So anyway, got to spend time. That's Germany. That comes later on. We did Germany later. But we got to go to this little part. Okay, we'll do. Appreciate that. But got to sit up at this little item up there in Italy. And then from there, we went on down and we went to Roma. Now, Roma was cool, but the reason for me going to Rome, the one primary thing that I wanted to do when I was in Rome was I had put in a request months and months to meet with one of the cardinals and get a specific. And you have to go through a security investigation, whole process. Takes months to go through. You have to make appointments and get it done. And the day we got there, we got notification that a Spanish dignitary, there were more than just a Spanish there, but there was this dignitary. And sorry, is that any better? They canceled my appointment. And so the one thing that I wanted to get when I was at the Vatican didn't happen. So they they canceled it. I wasn't able to actually get that. And so the one thing that I really wanted to see or get while I was there, I did not get to get. That was probably the only part of the trip that was kind of um, a letdown, right? Because I had spent so many months filling out paperwork and getting investigation and approval to get this done, and then it didn't. So that was kind of a bummer. But being a fan of Angels and Demons, if you guys have seen that movie, we acted out some of the area, got to track and see where you got to see the north wind. So we actually stood, I took a picture of that, got to stood by the fountain where they dumped the priest that was tied to the weights and stuff, where they pulled up the airline tubing and did stuff like that. Got to find the statues that pointed to the certain directions, got to take pictures of all of those. While we were touring the Vatican, the lady pulled in a favor by one of the guards, asked her to call somebody. He picked up the phone. They let us walk down the certain area that was reserved basically for the clergy. It was guarded by the Swiss Guard. When I first came on, was talking to Eric about that. Now, the Swiss Guard, just like the guards who stand at Buckingham or whatnot, they're not allowed to speak when they're on watch. But there are people that are going through, they scan in your badge, they look at your passport, they're looking inside your bags, doing all that stuff. You're walking through metal detectors. And this Swiss Guard, they wear their outfits, right? They multicolored outfit. They are the cream of the crops. And I asked a couple questions. I was like, can I take a photo with the Swiss Guard? And they're like, well, you have to ask them. They'll tell you, they'll kind of very nod, yes or no. You can't take photos of us because you can't take photos in this area. But got to walk down this one corridor, got to see St. Peter's Basilica, right? Get inside, look at the area where they were going through. They were actually having a mass while we were there. Actually, they had like four different masses going on. One for a wedding that was happening, one for a baby dedication, one for an honorarium for a dignitary. It was behind the gates. So it was cornered off. They had the glass pulled across. So you couldn't hear. You could see what was going on, but you couldn't see. You couldn't hear. Hey, Kevin, what's going on? They had the big mass for 18 pounds. You could actually go through security and go sit in and actually have mass there at the Vatican. But they're getting ready for the Holy Year. So there was so much of the Vatican all through Rome, in through all portions of Italy, where all the religious items, the statues and things of that nature were under scaffolding. So you'll see in many of my videos, many of my images, the churches and things are all being scaffolded because right now they're preparing for the Holy Year. And so they are doing tons and tons of restoration work. I have seen some amazing things in my life. Traveled to Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, the Philippines. I've seen Buddhist statues. I've seen old Japanese architecture where there's not a nail used in the construction of their temples. I've got to see some beautiful countryside, but some of the artwork in the Vatican is, got to see the Sistine Chapel again. That's one of those where it's quiet. It's a holy place. They actually kicked people out of the Sistine Chapel. They actually made everybody leave because the noise level was too high. People wouldn't shut up. So they kicked everybody out. They kicked all the groups out. The people that were worshiping, they kicked them out. They shut the hall. They opened it back up later and said, if you can't maintain, you can't control yourselves, we're going to shut it down. It was amazing to exhibit and experience some of these things. They removed a set of kids because they wouldn't shut up from another one of the little basilica areas. Basically just said, go, you can't stay here, go. Kicked them out. So it's very, very staunch religious environment. Very cool. Absolutely neat to see some of the things that were there. And again, where I could take pictures, I did. So a lot of this stuff, I'll be taking pictures and I'll be posting information. I've got so much to do today. I've got so many photos to go through. I've got so much stuff to dig through. So I'll be posting tons and tons and tons and tons of photos today. And I'm going to put a slideshow together talking about some of the stuff, and I'll show that tomorrow. I will probably not get through the rest of the trip tomorrow, simply because there's still so much to go through. But it was absolutely fabulous. And that was only the first 5 days of the trip. We have another 2 weeks to go. So just really cool. I'm going to talk about more Rome because I want to show some of the monuments. The Colosseum, not what I expected. You see this monumental item and you have a mind's eye of what it is, and you stand in it and you're like, wow. To be able to go to the catacombs, to be able to go underneath and actually see where the things were, to go to the lower levels. Yeah, so we'll talk a lot about that tomorrow. We'll talk about the Trevi fountains. A lot of people have asked about Trevi fountains. Definitely saw that. Absolutely amazing. That's one of the things that was more beautiful in person than I thought it was going to be. But just the history, everywhere you walk was history. But I want to take 5 minutes real quick and talk about something that you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up real quick, and let me pull this up. I'm going to share something with you guys, and this is something that sorry about that. I have to do this. I'm going to pull this up. Now, I'm going to share this. I'm going to bring it in. This was something. Now, for the folks that are Paula and Eric, you won't be able to see this on the other side because you won't be able to see this. Actually, you know what? Maybe I can do this. Hold on. Let me.
I just can watch the stream.
Yeah, let me just share this screen quick. Remove that. Let me.
I saw it over on the YouTube. Just do it. Don't try to do something.
Yeah, I'm watching. I got both.
Okay. I've got it.
I got StreamYard and YouTube.
You're going to see this little thing here, and I apologize for seeing the thing, but this is, if I can find it. I do not like this. I hate it when they do that. There we go. Okay. That's a better photo. You can see that now. All right. So, folks, if you don't know what this is, these are spread all over London, Europe, all across the EU. And there's only one place that they cannot have these, and that's in Munich, Germany. Munich, Germany is the only place that you cannot find these. And what these are these are little memorial plaques that talk about the people who were taken during the Holocaust. Now, these are surreal as you walk up and down the sidewalk.
I didn't hear what you said there. They were taken what?
During the Holocaust.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, my mic dropped a little bit. So
it's okay.
But it's surreal because as you walk through the streets of all of these cities, you see these listed everywhere. And so as you go through towns in France, as you go through towns in Italy, as you go through towns in England or Germany or Amsterdam, you'll see these all over the sidewalks. And what they are is they tell you who they are, they tell you what they did, they tell you when they were taken, and they tell you whether they came home, whether they committed suicide in prison, whether they were taken to the chamber, whether they were shot. It tells you when they died and how they died. And as you walk through, people just walk over these. People don't take time to stop. And this was one of the areas that as I walked through this was humbling, because you'll see singles, you'll see a couple, you'll see kids, you'll see families like this one. You'll see them where there are 8, 9, 10 of these plaques in a little area, and they're dotted all over the place. And this is a remembrance of everybody who was taken during World War II.
Are they set random, or are they set like in front of like where they were lived, or are they just set random around?
No. So in the cases where they're set in front of the place where they were taken.
Okay.
So their flats, their apartments, their homes. If they were taken out of a business, like if they went through and they shut a business down and there were 50 people taken out of them, there'll be a huge set of blocks spread through maybe 2 or 3 stone areas.
Wow.
But these are surreal. People just walk over them. It's just kind of like street signs and stop signs. They don't even look at these. And this was really for somebody who loves history. Folks, if you ever go to Europe, everybody's looking up. But watch where you're walking. Because this was an awakening experience for me. Because we hear stories, we see the films and talk about this stuff, and we hear of the atrocities that happened. But these are names of people. These are people who experienced this. Some of them are survivors. And for the ones that survived, they tell you when they died and how they died. Very few people who are survivors of this time frame are still alive. There's still a few, but there's not very many. But it's amazing to kind of walk through and see this kind of thing. This trip taught me a lot about the fact that there is more history on a street corner in Europe than there is in all of America. We are a fledgling nation. We're young. And when you talk about the thousands and the thousands and the thousands of years, there is so much history to be seen. In the 16 or 17 days that we traveled Europe, the amount of history that we were able to see is unreal. The amount of questions, the amount of people that I talked to, my wife was like, "Oh, come on, we got to go." But it's amazing. But these little things dot all of Europe. I'm not necessarily going to talk about why it's not in Munich, but we kind of have an understanding of why. But they basically were forbid to have any of these in that city. We walked around, we looked while we were there in Munich. Munich was an experience. I'll talk about that tomorrow. Something really cool. If you've seen the Glockenspiel, the giant clock video that I did, it's about 4 minutes long. That was in Munich. We had an amazing thunderstorm, standing out there, lightning, thunder crashing all around us, watching this Glockenspiel. It was a lot of fun. But again, I want you to pay attention to these kind of things, because this is the history of Europe. There's a lot of this stuff, and these things are spread everywhere. So if you ever get the chance to tour Europe, you ever get the chance to walk around, and you ever see these things, do me a favor, don't walk on them. Walk around them. Show them the respect that they deserve. I don't know why they didn't build them to where they were raised a little bit, or put them in an area where they weren't, given a little bit more credence of the importance of these little plaques. But again, this is something that this is quite amazing. All right, folks, we got about 10 minutes. I'm going to give everybody a chance to go grab some more coffee. I know I've got a ton of work to do to get some photos and things together for tomorrow. I'm going to be starting a little bit earlier tomorrow. I'm going to start at 8 o'clock. I'm going to run for 2.5 hours. I'm going to be putting a slideshow together today to kind of show people of the spots that I was at, starting at Rome, moving forward. I'll be posting tons of other stuff on the site today. Today's going to be about sharing information with you. But again, you'll be seeing the live thing come up here in just a little while. Please make sure you guys come in tomorrow. For those of you who haven't been a part of the channel, please do me a favor, come back. I want to share more with you. For the subscribers and the members who came in today, thank you so much for being in here. Tiger, Stan, 20 gift memberships. Thank you so much for doing that. Tiger with the super chats. Thank you so much, all those gifted members that were done. I appreciate you. But again, come back tomorrow. We'll talk more about the remainder of the trip. I will have some of the coins that I pulled out of the areas that I was in. Talk about some of the lira that was given to me by the driver, Sebastiano, who found out that I was a coin thing. Actually, my tour guide actually subscribes to the channel, watched it. He was like, you got a cool channel. So that was really cool. He's sharing my channel with a bunch of different travelers as people talk about coins. So really cool things happened on this trip. But I'll be talking more about this again. So, folks, again, thank you so much for being in here. Hey, Mom. Thanks for coming in and listening. And again, please be here tomorrow. I got more to share. So, Paula and Eric, I think this is the quietest I've ever heard you two.
Right?
It was just cool listening to it.
But thank you for coming up. Again, just so you guys are aware, the countries that we went through, we're going to go through tomorrow. We're going to go through the rest of Italy. We're going to go up through Austria. We're going to go through, again, through the edge of Switzerland, Germany. We're going to go ahead and go all the way up and hit into the Netherlands. We're going to go into Belgium, back into France, and then we're going to return back to London. So that's going to be the remaining. Oh man, we had some amazing chocolate and beer. Belgian waffles. Chocolate. So
yeah, Belgian beer, the best.
Here's a cool thing. So they did little scavenger hunts. I won the coin scavenger hunts for the euros. Right, we had to find certain euros, and I found the euros real quick. But in Belgium, we had to do beer, chocolate, waffles, and a Belgian lady in one of the old garb, the garments that they wore. We had to get all those in a photo. So we had to drink the beer and eat the waffle and all that stuff in order to get credit for it. I didn't win that one, but that was a fun challenge. This trip was amazing. So, but we'll be
should have went to St. Bernardus.
Say again.
Should have went to St. Bernardus. Could have had it all in one roof.
Oh, there were so many places where we could have had it all, but there were other things that we wanted to see when we were in Amsterdam and Belgium. So we'll be talking more about.
Well, I will miss tomorrow's stream because I'll be driving, but I will definitely go back and rewatch it.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But again, we only hit 4 countries, right? We just touched Italy, so we've got 5 more to go. We'll be talking about those tomorrow. So thank you for being in here. Thank you for listening to the tales.
Bye, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed tomorrow.
Have a great day.
And again, y'all take care, be well, be blessed. Thanks for being in here. Please, again, be here tomorrow. I'll be posting the live here in just a few minutes. Get that set up and scheduled. So please come back and join me. If you have any questions, frame your questions, because that's what I want to do. I want to share my adventures with everybody, but I also want to be able to answer questions. And again, if you have additional questions, email me. I'll do what I can to talk about those. It's too much fun. There's so much information to go through. So I do appreciate you. All right, folks, make sure you hit the Premier Train. So do me a favor. If one of my mods can make sure that Will's Treasures is thrown in there. I mean, if not, I'll make sure I throw that in the live stream just as I'm ending. But please make sure you check out Will's Treasures. They kick off the Premier Train. There are 8 channels. Each one's 15 minutes. They do some really cool stuff. Thanks, Ray. I appreciate you doing that. I'm going to go ahead and copy that real quick and throw that over on the other side. Oh, that's not going to work. Truncated. So let me go ahead and pull that up. Okay, now it's on the portrait side as well. That is the link to Will's Treasure. So please go check them out. Do me a favor. Let them know that Frosty's showing them some love. Let them know that I sent you. And we will see you guys there. All right. All right, folks. Well, thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow. And